Ave Legion and welcome to my channel. My name is Ludi and today we'll be doing our EU4 1.30 starting moves guide for Cusco. In this guide we'll be going over the estates and economy, diplomacy and war preparations, your religion, the wars for unifying Inca, as well as the later expansion and the ideas that you should go for. Before we start the video, I'd appreciate it if you left a like, commented and subscribed, as well as left the bell button on. If we can get this video to 900 likes, then I am gonna do a giveaway for an EU4 DLC or the base game if you don't have it. When discussing the estates, the first thing you want to do is summon the diet and then go for whichever agenda best suits you, followed up by seizure of land to get rid of the negative modifiers that you start off with. The privileges given to the nobility will be the right of council and the supremacy over the crown. For the clergy will be giving the oversight by the clergy and the monopoly on wool, and for the merchants guild will be giving the free enterprises. Before anything else, make sure that you increase your stability by 1. After you've increased your stability by 1, go ahead and encourage divination as well as introduce the vision quest. We want to do this after we've improved the stability by 1, as they both add plus 10 stability cost, thus making it more expensive to get stability. Another thing I do recommend is that you go ahead and get a morale of armies or a discipline advisor if you can, depends whichever is going to be available for you. We start off with 2 merchants, but we are not using any of them, so what we want to do is we want to send one of them to collect trade in the home trade region of Lima, and the other one we will be sending to Cuyaba whenever we have this within our trade range. Right now it is not possible, but after our early expansion it will be possible. Cusco starts off with 1 gold mine, and we have about 5 more gold mines within our immediate areas, and we want to get this gold mine especially in Potosi, as it has a local goods produced plus 3 modifier, thus making it an actual viable mine. Do remember that as a primitive nation you're not getting as much gold from the gold mines as you would be getting as a regular nation, so until we reform and become a regular nation, all of these gold mines are not going to be giving us as much as we'd like them to, but they're still going to be giving a lot of money compared to not having them. I recommend not going for any diplomatic or for any admin advisors at the very start, at least, as you want to make sure that you don't force your treasury too much. Nothing to worry, however, you do have significantly good monarch and heir, so you don't need to be stressed about your mana points. The rivals that you're most likely going to have available are going to be Kola as well as Wanka, so make sure you get both of these nations as your rivals. 90% of the times they also rival you, but for some reason in my game they didn't rival me and are actually friendly. Regardless, we don't want any friends or allies. All of these nations are going to be part of our nation within the next 15 years, so we literally do not need any allies. Instead, we're going to go directly into war preparations. The first thing you want to do is hire the free company in Abanchay, and we do get a mission at the very start, prepare for war, where we need to have 100% force limit and manpower at 80% in order to get a permanent claim on this area here, which includes Wanka, Ishma, and parts of Huila, and that's going to be our first expansion path. But whilst we're doing that, we're also going to be making a claim on the nation of Kola, and we're going to be getting a claim on Huila itself so that we have an easier time sieging down their fort. In order to get 80% manpower, what we actually should do is exploit some of our development. By exploiting your provinces once in Cusco, Abanchay, and Ayaviri, you're going to be able to do the mission before the month ends, and you're going to get morale of armies as well as your permanent claim, and you can even do the other mission built to force limit, so you are definitely ready for war. King actually starts off as a super good general. Do not put him in charge of an army though. You don't want to risk him dying off, but hey, it's up to you. If you want to risk him dying off, that's okay. You should also be getting quite a few events such as the Fall of Shanka and Rise of Cusco, which will be giving you various rewards such as mana points or cash. For those of you not familiar with how the Native American system works, it is quite similar yet quite different for all 3 of the North, Central, and South American nations. For the Inti or the Inca nations, whatever you want to call them, you have the religious reforms based on authority. So basically, once we have 100 authority here, we can choose one of our 5 reforms, and after we have all 5 religious reforms, we can can reform the religion itself as long as we are bordering a European nation. So we need to have a border with an European nation to reform the religion, as well as have all 5 of these enacted. So that means we need to reach 100 authority 5 times before we can get all of these. In order to get authority, it's based off of how much development you have. The more development you have, the faster you get authority. So the fastest way to grow your authority, however, is going to be lowering the autonomy in newly conquered provinces. I highly recommend that whenever you conquer your new provinces that you lower autonomy. This can get you up to 100 authority super fast early on in the game. That is literally why you need to rush all of these nations within the first 15 years and take out everybody so that you can start growing your authority a lot faster. Do not be worried about admin power or admin points in general. Use it all to core all of these provinces first, as we don't need to worry about tech for a while. We're not going to have any neighbors with advanced tech, and by the time they arrive, if you ate up all of your neighbors, you shouldn't have any problems with having the authority to finish all of the reforms by then. Do remember that you have 50% feudalism, institution tech penalty, and you cannot even spawn in feudalism. Even if you dev up your provinces and you spawn it in, you're not going to be able to embrace it as you are a primitive nation. So do not even think about this. What you want to keep up with, however, is at least military technology. Getting at least an optimal of 3 tech by the time we finish our conquest of the Inca lands should be perfect. If you are faced with a similar situation such as me, where Wanka actually managed to ally a lot of nations, this doesn't always happen, but it can happen, do not despair. What you need to do is you need to go ahead and go to your Merchants Guild and grant the privilege indebted to the Merchants Guild, which gives you 5 loans, and use these loans to hire an additional 2,000 units in the province of Cusco and bring over your mercenaries there before we declare war. We're going to use this secondary army to fight off Cola, whilst we use the main 8,000 strong army to fight off Wanka. Co-belligerate whatever nation does not attract any other nations into the war. So in my case, that would be Cola. Chimu is only allied to Chochapoya, so of course I can co-belligerate them as well. And Chochapoya is allied to Ichima, which is this opium here. So actually I can co-belligerate everybody. Go ahead, declare war, and we're gonna stack wipe them on day 1 once our troops arrive here. If you get events such as these, wait and do not choose anything, as you can use these rebels to your advantage whenever the enemy army gets into our provinces. We can spawn in the rebels and kill the enemies with our rebels. Do take note, these are super RNG, so do not expect to get this event at the start as I did. It should be an easy stack wipe for the armies of Wanka, and that's another stack wipe. Now we're gonna go over to Zhao Zhao whenever they finish building their troops so we can kill them off also. Remember that you start off with a level 2 fort or a castle in your capital, so you don't need to worry, especially since it is a mountain fort as well. Plan your battles carefully and try and take out the enemy armies whenever you get a chance to, whilst at the same time try and siege everything that you can whenever you can. You might be feeling like you're fighting off against all odds, but it's not really true. You should be okay with this war. You do have a lot more troops, and if you time your fights properly, then you don't need to stress about it at all. Also, whenever you get events such as the Cusco Navel of the world, go for the stability, as it's a way of saving admin points that you need for coring up everything around you. If they are trying to siege down your mountain fort level 3 capital there, then you should definitely choose the defensive edict so they have a harder time of sieging it down. Inca is very similar to Japan and your approach to it, so a lot of the times if you're at war with somebody and their neighbors perceive them to be quite weak, then they're gonna attack them also. So for example, I cannot take over Cola since the nation of Pacajes is probably gonna annex them right now. If you do have a situation such as this where you've actually sieged down Ichma, or a nation that you do not border so you cannot take their provinces, then you can vassalize them, and as such you can afterwards take the provinces adjacent to them. Cancel rivals as well so that you can get a bit of extra prestige, and booyah, we got Ichma as our first vassal, which we will be integrating shortly. As expected, Cola was completely annexed by Pacajes, but no problem, we can take them on afterwards. It looks like there's gonna be only 2 nations in the south that we need to worry about. We're able to annex the whole nation of Chimu, and that is a lot of provinces, so make sure you have the admin points for it, which you should have because you have an awesome commander, or better yet king. You will have to core these one by one since they border your vassal here, Ichma, mob, but they are basically in a straight line. Make sure to use your Diplo points to lower war exhaustion when needed, and continue to just attack whatever nation is left in the coalition or the war against you. Whenever you're bordering other nations into the north, make sure that you start building a spy network in advance so that you can get ready for assaulting them. As expected, there are only 2 nations left in the south, so what I'm gonna do is after they finish their war and their armies are completely depleted, that's when I'm gonna go ahead and attack and finish off whatever is left here. Whenever you get the event for the Shrine of Viracocha, make sure that you actually take it so that you get Tolerance of the True Faith until the end of the game plus 0.5. And whenever you get a chance to go for your military tech 2, do it even though it costs an insanely high amount of mana. Annex Wanka finally, and now we can attack the other nation here. Next up, declare war on whoever is left up in the north and take them out. A lot of the times you're gonna have 1 or 2 superpowers, one in the north, one in the south, and you're gonna have to fight off against them. So be ready for that and try and take out as many of your neighbors as you can before it happens so that you are strong enough to fight them off. Keep conquering until you start having a coalition being formed, and before that even has a chance of triggering, start and declare your war against everybody left in the Incan region. If you have a situation such as this where Quito actually has Muisca as an ally, then you should co-belligerate them and you should make them a vassal and integrate them later on. This is going to be a super good way of making sure that you get to the coastline and find your Spanish friends to reform faster. So we're going to go ahead and declare war on Quito. Well, it looks like the Tyronians actually took advantage of my war and they ate Muisca before I could get to it. No problemo, we can still fully annex all of Quito here and make them our full cores. We should also be getting the Expand Cusco mission by now fulfilled, and we can start moving our troops into the south to fight off what's left of the Incans. Remember to improve relations with your vassals so that you can integrate them later on. Another thing I want to point out is that you can give the exclusive trade rights once you have Lima, either under direct control or as a vassal, and you can also give the monopoly on textiles, so go for both of these whenever they are available. You can also give the strong duchies if you want to. It's not going to change much since you don't really have any allies, and your 2 small vassals should be easy to keep in check. When you're ready, declare war and start your assault into the south. If your north is secured, having the south is going to be a cakewalk. After you fully siege down all of their holdings, make sure you annex them and take all the cash they have as well. And last but not least, we just have to deal with this one nation here of Chorca. Around the 1460s, you should be getting your 3rd military tech, and that is going to help you out a lot since it gives plus 0.5 land morale. Get a claim on whatever province you want to get in Potosi or Charca and start your assault on them. They are most of the times allied to some smaller nations by the coastline of South America. Finish off whatever is left here, and with the annexation of Charcha or Carca, whatever you call it, we can finally form the Incan Empire. In fact, we could have formed it before this if we were at peace, but that's besides the point. Click over the big button here and we are now Inca. Do take note that your authority grows quite slowly, but you do get a ton of events, so whenever you get these events, go for the ones that give you authority. And once you have 100 authority, you should go for your first reform, and I highly recommend that you go for the colonists +1. This is going to give you a reform past event that gives you -2 stability and -100 authority, as well as a couple of rebellions here and there that you're going to have to deal with. Make sure that you are ready for these rebellions, and also don't forget to increase your stability back. We can now choose our native policy, and I recommend going for native repression policy, which gives you +20 settlers. When choosing what area to colonize first, I recommend that you start with the south so that you can reach the coastline faster, and go for whichever province doesn't have the tropical modifier, such as Chaco Austral here, since that means that we're going to be colonizing this region faster than we would a province with the tropical modifier. Whenever you do colonize a province, that means that you're going to be automatically seeing all of the adjacent provinces, which in turn means that we can start attacking these nations into the south and expand our influence. Do remember to lower the autonomy in your provinces. That's going to give you a lot of authority. So after you get your initial colonist, if you start lowering the autonomy, you're going to get your second reform quite fast. I'd recommend morale of armies, but it is really up to you whichever you want to go for. You should have all of these before the the colonials start popping up in the New World. As your first splendor, I recommend that you go for the higher developed colonies so that you get +1 tax production and manpower whenever your colonies finish building. Whenever you get the event, the Huacas and the Royal Temple, make sure that you move the Huacas to the Royal Temple. This is going to give you -1 national unrest until the end of the game. It will, however, cost you 1 stability, but that is nothing to worry about. By the 1480s, you should have unified the Incan lands as well as taken care of most of your southern neighbors and started establishing your colonies around, whilst at the same time you probably managed to get a vassal in the north and if lucky integrated by now too. Whenever you colonists finish off working into the south, or even if they haven't finished, you can recall and start sending them into the north to start colonizing a few new provinces just in case the first contact is going to be from the north rather than from the south. Make sure that you have all of your reforms done by the time that the colonists arrive. Now by the 1480s you probably will have 3 or 4 of your reforms done, not all 5 unless you were super lucky and you got a lot of really good events. So if war happens between you and the colonial nations, it's gonna be a bloodbath, so keep that in mind and try to avoid it. You most likely will be around tech 3 or 4, maybe 5 by the time you encounter the colonials, so they will definitely be above you. As such, don't be too shy about losing a few wars before you finally reformed your nation and you caught up in tech with the colonial nations. Getting Diplotech 3 is almost crucial as it helps with colonizing lands faster. We get +20 from the native repression and +25 from the tech 3 Diplo. You will most likely be way behind with your admin tech, but that is nothing to worry. Whenever you do manage to reform and you're up to par with the rest of the colonial nations, you can catch up fast enough, and having all of these gold mines is definitely gonna help you out. Whenever you do get admin tech 5 and you actually can get your first idea, what I recommend that you go for first is gonna be exploration ideas, since it gives you 1 more colonist and +10 global settler increase. Now if you have a lot of extra admin points lying around, then go for expansion ideas instead of exploration, since it offers basically double that with 2 colonists and +20 global settler increase. But chances are that you will not have that many admin points lying around and that you're gonna have a lot of extra Diplo points. So if that is the case, then definitely go for the exploration ideas and use up your Diplo points to fill it up. As a second idea, I recommend going for a military idea, and the most efficient one would probably be offensive ideas, since they offer both a few extra troops and also harden your units, and you most likely will need to have stronger units and good generals to fight off the colonial nations. Later down the line, whenever you do get extra admin points, also go for expansion ideas, since it still offers +2 colonists and +20 global settler increase, so it definitely is mandatory that you go for this at one point. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, as well as leave the bell button on. And I also want to really thank my patrons so much. If anybody else would like to become a patron, then check the link in the description. So until the next one, have a great day everyone.